Okay, my friends. So what we're going to do in this next series of questions, and this is the last batch of questions for the take home, is we're going to look at this penny shortage idea and who comes out ahead with given situations. So here's a picture of the sign that is on the Madras DQ. I didn't see one on the Redmond DQ. I stopped at the Redmond one on the way back from my 105 in Redmond because I wanted to see what the actual prices were on their menu. And if you want to take a look, you can look over here at the full menu. You can see all the prices of all the items on DQ's menu in Redmond, which I'm assuming is the same as the one in Madras. I don't know if it is or not, but we're going to assume it is. What we're going to do through these next few questions is we're going to buy different numbers of items off of that menu. We're going to randomly select from that menu, and that's what you're going to see in each of these next few tabs, 1, 2, 3, and 4 items. We're going to do the one item case in this video, and then I'm going to set you loose. Then we're going to compare the rounding and who comes out ahead. So let's just dive right in. If I randomly selected a $7.49 item off of DQ's menu, you can see that if I'm paying with cash, that ends in a 9, which means they are going to round me up to the nearest nickel, which would be 7.50. So the normal bill is 7.49. If I'm paying in cash, I'd have to pay 7.50, which means the difference, I'm defining that to be a -1. I'm calling it negative because that means you had to pay an extra penny to DQ that you probably you shouldn't have had to pay. They're rounding, and that's an error in their favor, not in yours. Over here, I'm keeping track of that. So this little column D, you're going to see this repeatedly in the sheets you're going to look at. Is keeping track of the current item. So right now, that's a difference of -1. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to teach you how to do this now. You're going to use the delete button on your keyboard. And what that's going to do is it's going to grab another single item from the full menu on that other sheet, and it's going to analyze the rounding for that given item. So again, 269 ends in 9. So we're going to round up to 270. That is once again another -1 cent difference. If I do it again, 829 does the same thing. You just gave them an extra penny they didn't deserve. Okay, so here's one where you're not going to give them any more because it ends in 0. That's already rounded to the nearest. So the difference here is going to be 0. Now, it's interesting. You might wonder to yourselves, like, Sean only has -1 cent and 0 cent listed. And that's because I took a look at the menu over here. It might be a little hard for you to see, but all of their prices either end in 9s, 0s, or way at the bottom, 4s. So based on the way they actually set up their rounding for single items, if they end in 9s and 4s, they're going to be rounded up. So anything that ends in a 9 or a 4, you're going to donate an extra penny to. The only time you're going to pay the same amount that you actually have to pay is when your bill ends in a 0, like that $6 item there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold down this delete button and just let this thing randomize. And you can see that we're getting a lot more -1s than we are 0s. And hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. There's a lot more 9s and 4s on that full menu than 0s. So you're going to have a lot more instances where you're giving them an extra penny than when you're not. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out on average for one item, how much are we giving DQ extra? So I'm going to call this the average overage. That's kind of fun, actually. Average overage. All right. So because I'm feeling a little bit saucy, I'm going to do this the same way we did the Spotify problems. I'm going to use some product again, and I'm going to take the money amounts, weight them with the cumulative counts. Now, the only difference here is I don't have a trial counter, do I? I don't have a trial counter, but that's okay. I can just divide by the sum of that cumulative column. That's the same as the trial counter. That's all the trial counter was doing in the spreadsheet anyway. So I'm going to press enter, and that comes up with a -1 cent difference. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, I don't like that font. Let's make it larger. There, that's good. Make it really pop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep holding that delete button down. Oh no, it's stabilized. On average, we're giving DQ back a penny if we're buying one item and we're randomly selecting that item from the menu. So to recap, to re-randomize these bills, you use the delete button on your keyboard. Real quick, don't keep your mouse in. I've got a lot of fonts that are grayed out. Those are actually doing things in the sheets. When you hit the delete button, make sure your mouse isn't placed in any of those places. If you place your mouse in those holes, you're going to erase parts of my sheet. So please don't do that. Just make sure you click like somewhere over here and then hold that delete button down and you'll see that cumulative counter keep track. All right, I think you know everything you need to know to try this next batch of problems. Go get them.